Metaverse Job Fair was organized on January 27, with more than 2,000 students taking part in the experience. Metaverse tech is starting to change the landscape of job hunting and recruiting in Japan. More than 2,000 students attended a Metaverse Job Fair that allowed them to use digital avatars to communicate with recruiters and examine the possibilities of each job offer available. Due to the anonymity in the metaverse, participants were allowed to ask questions on delicate matters concerning these job offerings. According to reports of the Asahi Shimbun, 179 companies participated in this effort, which was organized by Neo Career Company, which took care of.
So what I'd like to do here first is have our panelists quickly introduce themselves so you know which companies that they represent. I'm going to start with AJ on the end.
For sure. My name is Ajay Palma. I represent GameFi AG. We are incorporated in Switzerland as of August last year. We are a crypto NFT company. We make games and we have tokens as well. Thank you.
Very good. Roman, please.
Yes, hello, good morning. My name is Roman Lifson. I'm CFO of family office Work on World. I'm also Chief Financial Officer of Bortec Acquisition Corp, the SPAC that we launched a couple of months ago. We IPO'd, we raised $300 million. We have to, unfortunately, spend it all in one place, which is rather challenging, but I'm sure we'll find a way. I'm also a banker at Catalyst Securities. We'll look at the technology space, the NFTs, and the gaming world.
Great. And Jerry, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jerry Chan. I'm the founder of Frobots.io, and Frobots is pretty much a mix between esports and competitive coding.
Very, very cool. And everybody loves to talk about NFTs, but we are here today to talk about NFTs with utility. So Jerry, I'm going to start with you. How are you going to be integrating NFTs into Frobots, and how are they going to actually mean something?
Well, so the idea of Frobots is using an NFT to actually represent a digital entity, or something that is, I guess, sort of more like alive, not just a static image or picture. And so we're using Frobots because in the game, you kind of write code to develop an AI or a strategy to play against other Frobots. And NFTs allow us to create this digital existence that lives in the blockchain or eventually the metaverse, so that you can
they will be able to earn passive income, passive rewards by playing the game.
Okay. And also, the word tokens is a big buzzword these days. So Roman, I wanted you to talk to us a bit about loyalty tokens and what you and your investors are talking about, and in order to integrate loyalty tokens into the gaming company that you are investing in.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, we think that the introduction of the NFTs totally changes the life cycle of how games are created, how they're funded, how they're marketed. When we talked in 2017 about initial coin offerings, these days it's initial games offerings, because the players can get involved in the creation of the games. They buy NFTs to preview the games, to play them. They can participate in the development of the games. Look at the size of the space. The total space of the games is 180 billion. The space of GameFi is 21 billion right now, but it's expected to grow to about 280 billion by 2025, so tenfold increase in just a little over 3 years. So that attracts a lot of money from VCs and from gamers alike.
Very good, thank you. And one of the challenges out there is choosing which blockchain to use when you are going to be using NFTs, tokens, and the like in your games. I know that our panelists here are working with some different blockchains, and I'm going to start with you, AJ, because I know that you have actually even inherited some of the blockchains that you're working with. But talk to me about some of the challenges that you face with Ethereum, for example, and how you are looking to fix some of these challenges.
Okay, for sure. The biggest problem with Ethereum that we see are the gas fees, the transaction fees. They're astronomical compared to BSV. BSV is very, where if the user, say, is earning $2 to $3 and you have to pay now $10 in gas fees, there's no incentive for the user to keep playing the game anymore, right? And what we're seeing with Ethereum is that a lot of gaming users are coming from Philippines, they're coming from the Asian communities. For them, the entry barrier is way too high, and that's what BSV is eliminating, where everybody can come in and participate in gaming.
Very good. And I think you might have some plans to move some things to BSV, potentially. Can you talk about that?
Yes, what we're thinking of doing is deploying our contracts on BSV as well and making a bridge available where our users will be able to bridge between Ethereum and BSV. Yes.
Very cool. And Roman, I know that that you and your investors have different opinions on which blockchain to go with. So I'm wondering how those conversations go internally. What are the aspects of the blockchain that you are looking for, and how are you managing the differences in opinions there?
Well, first of all, the processing has to be near instantaneous, and then, of course, it has to be efficient in terms of cost per transaction, and these are all touted advantages of BSV. So we have in our portfolios companies in esports and gaming space that have over 50 million active users. They're not blockchain native, but we're looking for a viable technology to transfer it all to blockchain, and BSV is in the mix in a leading position.
Okay, and I know that in some of the conversations I've personally had at this conference, people talk about the grants that some of the other blockchains are offering, such as Polygon. I mean, we're talking thousands, maybe even millions if you start building using their blockchain. But the problem is that you run into issues, whereas with BSV you don't. Jerry, I know you've been having these conversations building using their blockchain, but the problem is that you run into issues, whereas with BSV you don't. Jerry, I know you've been having these conversations too. What would you say to somebody that says, you know what, but if I go with Polygon or Avalanche, you know, I can get all this money, and
right.
you know, what do the startups do that don't have huge funds to work with?
Well, it's definitely a difficult situation because when you're offered a lot of funding up front, then it's really hard to say no. But I think the danger of taking using tokens as a funding mechanism first and foremost is that you have less incentive for the developers to stay on and actually deliver what the game is promising. So I think it's certainly a leverage, a way to further enhance your developers to build something really wonderful and good, but I think it shouldn't be the primary form of funding. I think sometimes you just need to go with the traditional method because it really makes it so that the investors can see the commitment in the developing team and the founders, that they really are taking a personal stake in the success of the project, and that sort of is muddied, or it's harder to filter out if you have a lot of tokens being the primary funding vehicle.
Very good. And AJ, I know you have a couple of thoughts on this as well, if you want to add anything.
I would just like to add on with Jerry. Yes, they provide the funding, but it's like, it's not scalable. Like, yes, they're going to provide it, but what can you really do with that funding? You know, like, the users, yes, you're going to make your game with that funding, but like...
Okay, and you know what, if there are some newbies out there, maybe you just need to sign up with the Satoshi Block Dojo and get some help and some funds. Okay, so not everybody and not every game needs blockchain capabilities added, but I wanted to know from the group here, how does the technology improve esports in gaming, and why is BSV the best choice for this? So I am going to start with Jerry.
Okay.
Sorry, Jerry.
I guess, well, I mean, from my experience, the first and foremost, the reason why BSV was the pick for us is because it has to make economic sense for your players. You know, my vision is not to have the players have to deal with cryptocurrency or to deal with a token just to play a game. So in order for us to support, for us to develop a game where the players don't need to get involved in buying cryptocurrencies and all that kind of stuff, we have to be able to support the users ourselves. And in order for us to be able to do that, in order for us to use the blockchain, it has to be cheap because we're subsidizing the users. And so that really means that the blockchain has to have a lot of volume processing capability, and it has to be cheap enough for us to pay for our users to play it. And I think that makes it so that the focus of the game is really the player should come to the game to play the game because it's fun. There's some value in the fun of the game, not just because they have to, you know, they're dealing with cryptocurrencies.
Very good, thank you. And Roman, where do you think the biggest use cases for blockchain technology are in the gaming space?
So as financial investors, first and foremost, we think about the ROI when we're looking at the potential investment. And if you look at the utilization of NFTs and blockchain and all stages of the life cycle, it basically increases all the metrics or improves all the metrics from the customer acquisition cost, because once you foster brand loyalty and brand evangelism, it lowers the customer acquisition cost, it increases lifetime value, and it reduces the churn rate. So as a result, the ROI increases exponentially.
Very good. And AJ, your thoughts, please.
My thoughts would be that BSV, everything is stored on chain. Other chains do not allow it. So for us as developers, we don't need another system that will store all of the transactions that are happening, all of the moves that the players are moving, and that's how BSV will help. It will store all of the data.
Very good. And Jerry, I know you're totally all in BSV. You're a long time. You're an OG in the BSV space here. So you've told me in our conversations that Frobet is going to set up the future for Bitcoin, or at least this is your vision. Can you tell us what you mean by that statement?
That robots are the future of Bitcoin? Well, I guess I think the source of the statement is because I kind of came about to Frobots initially investigating build something that can do general computation on a distributed network like blockchain, like Bitcoin. But then I realized that that's kind of like too big of a project for like a startup to deal with. So taking that idea of computation on blockchain and just turning it into one specific application, which is writing a robot whose sole purpose is to combat other robots, and then making it a game, competitive game, so that it becomes more like an e-sport. And at the same time, then it also teaches people to write code which is very similar to smart contract code on blockchain. So my hope is that eventually, writing and playing Frobots will allow people to create these digital, players, these digital athletes, I guess. And that's the game part, but it also teaches them to start programming in a world where, in the future, the network is the computer. And where the computation of the code is actually executed may not matter, because the computation can be paid for with Bitcoin, right? So I think that's where I kind of see that, maybe the eventual, the progression path is Frobots is just the beginning, the first step into maybe a world where everything runs on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And I know there are plenty of people that say the gaming is a really good place to start using blockchain and building with blockchain. It's a really good place to start. So to educate our audience here on why people say that, I want for each of you guys in closing to give your thoughts on that. So AJ, I'll start with you at the end. Why is gaming where it's at?
Gaming is going to go into crypto space. So right now, the general user, they're playing their favorite games, right? But they're not earning money from it. I would like to give the example of Fortnite, for example, right? So the user, they're paying for their skins, but their skins are only in their account. They're not transferable. They can't sell it to anyone else. So this is where blockchain is coming in. Imagine all of those skins are now on the blockchain. They're tradable. The user can sell them. The user will play the game more often, and now the user can also earn from it. I believe gaming is heading to the crypto space, yeah.
Very good. Roman, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so what I think we're witnessing right now as an evolution is the transition from the old model, which is play to win, into play to earn, and more increasingly play and earn, because we don't want to totally encourage the couch potato behavior. We need a right mix of things. So one thing I'd like to mention is that where the game promotion used to be dominated by influencers, these days it's more